This week on the Man Cave Technology Show, we're going to be talking about Apple 2016 Touch Bar problems, the Nintendo Switch. Dalton is going to tell us about an interesting tech product that's for brushing your teeth, and no, it's not another Sonicare toothbrush. And we're going to talk about our experiences with virtual reality and where we think it is headed. So hey, welcome to the Man Cave Technology Show. This is the first episode. Are we excited and stoked?
Yes. It'll be
insert applause here.
Yes, insert applause.
Yeah, so my name is Joshua, and this is
Donovan right here on the mic.
Yeah, this is Ryan and Dalton.
And this show is basically dedicated to those of you who love technology and are just interested in what is going on week to week with technology and the things that are happening. And so this is going to be a weekly show. This is our first episode. It's going to be on YouTube, and we will actually start live streaming here at some point soon. And it's also going to be released on iTunes and as a podcast and that kind of thing. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right in and get going with talking about some things. First off, we're going to start with some news. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but we know that Samsung phones have had trouble catching on fire. Yeah. When I was on a flight just a couple weeks ago, they really do make an announcement at the gate, and they say if you have this, a Samsung phone, what is it? The
Note 7.
The Note 7.
Yes.
It is illegal to fly with it, and you need to notify the flight attendant. But apparently this week, a warehouse actually caught on fire where they manufacture the faulty batteries at, which is kind of funny. You wonder if the batteries have something to do with it.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if they've, correct me if I'm wrong, if they've actually came out with what has originally caused it, but you would think it would be the batteries.
Right. It is very suspicious, and hopefully they're going to get this figured out, because I think this was a big setback for Samsung, especially considering that happened, and then Apple launched the new iPhone.
Yeah, and it was a huge success.
Yeah,
which was...
and people loved that phone, but they had to get rid of it.
Yeah, they didn't like it blowing up in their backpacks and things like that.
Right.
Minor details.
Just a little bit. The other thing that's kind of big news this week is Android has released Android Wear 2.0. This is going to provide better support for things like LTE on watches and all of that. And so I know we got a couple of Apple Watches here. I got an Apple Watch. Ryan has an Apple Watch. These guys are holding out for the they've been holding out for Android Wear 2.0. How important is LTE access on a watch in terms of having that always connected to the internet, to the cell network?
Just for me, having the Apple Watch over the last couple months since Christmas, it's really awesome, but I never not have my phone, and my phone has LTE, so there's really no point for me to have the LTE. But, if you get lost and you lose your phone, it may be helpful.
True. And, I know that people who, if you go running or jogging or anything like that, you don't want to have stuff in your pockets. So that's another place.
Yeah, that's great. And you can track GPS now off of it. It's probably going to improve it even more.
Well, and don't they have Bluetooth so you can listen to music while wearing the watch and not having a phone on?
Yeah, you could stream from Spotify
and
just directly off the watch.
Yeah, so right now with an Apple Watch, if you go running, you have GPS, you have if you don't have your phone with you, you have GPS, you have the ability to stream music. It's going to track and everything. It will drain your battery like crazy to run the GPS on the Apple Watch too, so it's kind of a useless feature. But if you really like running and you want to come back and charge your watch, then I guess that works. Dalton, what's keeping you from getting a watch? What would you have to see in order to go, man, this is something I have to have, a smartwatch?
Well, I don't. It would have to improve my phone, not just do what my phone does on a smaller screen.
Right.
For me, it's the only reason I would ever get a watch would be to check the time, but now I'm just so used to checking my phone to check the time. So, it wouldn't really improve my life. So I would need it to, wow me, I guess.
Right.
Just have some convenient feature.
Yeah, right now they don't really do a lot, do they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people like them, but I haven't seen any that are I need to get me one of those.
So let's move on and talk about something that we have 3 of them sitting on this table, and that is the 2016 MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. There's been a lot of talk about this because I personally hate to say it, but I feel like this was probably one of Apple's worst product launches ever.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Which is sad because it was this guy's first Mac.
Well, okay, so what makes this product launch worse than others in the past?
Well, for me, I think Apple, I started getting MacBook Pros in 2007, and every time I would get one, it just worked. There was no crashing, no problems. And maybe this is part of because you're coming from Windows, and so you're used to it.
Used to the crash.
Which I have Windows computers. I think we all have. Dalton has a Windows computer.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely, this podcast and show is, we welcome all. So you are welcome whether you're Android or Windows or iOS or Mac, whatever, you use. But I mean, what would you say, Ryan? You've had several Macs.
Yeah. I started with actually your old Mac, the 2010.
That's right.
And yes, I never had any problems with it. Upgrade to the 2014 in 2014, no problems. Now with the 2016 Mac, it's definitely more powerful. But I think with the Touch Bar incorporation, and maybe we can catch on a little bit, but the USB-C incorporation, there have been a lot of issues. I know you've had some issues as well in the man cave.
Right. Yeah. The part of the problem has been that this computer can crash a lot, but I found that most of the crashing is related to plugging things in and out of the USB ports.
Yeah, and that's almost all my crashes is just plugging peripherals in and out.
What are your same thing?
It's isolated USB,
right?
And it's not. It is just not good.
Yeah, and that may crap out the computer, but in the long run, the Touch Bar does have a lot of issues right now, at least, even with software updates, where it will stop responding or not work correctly.
It'll just go blank.
Or it'll just go blank. But when it works, it's great.
Right.
Now just
and Dalton's laughing at us because his computer just works, right?
Yeah.
Your Windows.
Yeah.
And what a reversal that is. A lot of people on my YouTube channel are really people who have loved Mac for a long time, and they're very disappointed that all of a sudden it has become what Mac people used to say Windows is, and Windows is maybe ironically becoming more stable. Can we say that? I don't know.
Well, I would even say that because, I came from a Windows laptop with a full touchscreen at 4K. You'd think that there's tons of places for this thing to crash. This Mac in the first 2 weeks crashed more than that whole laptop did in an entire year.
Yeah,
Ouch.
he did have a pretty bad experience.
Yeah, that hurts.
But
pretty bad.
Power management, man.
Yeah, one of the interesting things, like I touched on earlier with the 2014, when I sold it on Craigslist, I was actually really sad that I was getting rid of those tactile buttons, and I had to actually move to the Touch Bar and learn how to use it, and it's just totally different now.
Right. Yeah, it is kind of interesting when you're laying in weird positions on the couch or on the bed using it. It's one thing to be able to just feel and know there's the escape key, but when you when you don't have that, it's hard to find. The other thing that's been really annoying is I loved having the dedicated volume up and down.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing I miss the most.
Yeah, you can't even program it now with the control strip, which is pretty sad. Yeah, one of the big things is that we don't think about is we don't look at the buttons. We just memorize where they are, just like typing on a keyboard.
Right.
Whereas now it's making me look at the Touch Bar and not be productive anymore.
Right. Now, what's interesting is think about this. People used to say the same thing when the first iPhone came out, and Steve Ballmer laughed in the face saying this thing has no physical buttons to type on. It's going to be an absolute disaster. And now every phone.
True. Yeah.
That's not a trend I like.
Yeah, we do.
I love physical buttons.
Yeah. You're more of a tactile kind of guy.
Yeah.
We have been dissing on the Touch Bar launch and the USB-C launch here recently, but in general, Apple doesn't really screw up. They have it pretty right. Maybe the AirPods.
And that is the definition of a fanboy.
Yeah.
Right there. Quote, in general, Apple doesn't screw up.
What's the best-selling phone in the world, gentlemen? The iPhone.
Wow. Okay.
That's enough.
Well, let me tell you a few things that some people on the YouTube channel, Man Cave Technology, have said. Mysterious Marissa says, I have been using my new 15-inch MacBook Pro Touch Bar for about 2 weeks. It's been freezing, so I would just close it and would try to convince Siri to restart it for me by voice, but she got stubborn and denied my request. Then I think she watched one of the videos where she said, I actually did not know where and if there was a real power button until I watched your video today. Yeah. So that is something interesting. Some of you may not realize that the top right, which is where you use your thumb or your finger for Apple Pay, is also the power button.
Yeah.
Well, it is a tactile button.
Yeah.
True.
Even I forget that because it's kind of blending in with the Touch Bar there.
Right. One of the other problems that I had was this computer sometimes would have trouble going to sleep. And I haven't had a lot of these issues since the latest updates. But when it first came out, I would close it. And there was a couple times it just ran, I think, and ran the battery out. Adam says, babysitting your Mac to make sure it goes into sleep mode. That was good. Try singing a lullaby to it.
Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
I don't know. Do you guys think that would work? Have you guys been experiencing those problems? Because there were a lot of problems, and especially in some of the first videos, those were made on the earlier releases. At this point, I'm not having as many I'm really not having a lot of crashes anymore. I mean, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine on the crashes. To speak on what Adam said about putting it to sleep, very interesting. If you have it plugged in with an adapter now with the USB-C into an external monitor like we do here
right,
all the time, if you unplug it and then rapidly close it, sometimes you can have the issue where it won't actually go to sleep. But other than that, I haven't had any issues. I haven't had to sing any lullabies.
Yeah, and you know, I'm just being really careful right now after all the USB-C, when it would just, crash as I unplug my USB-C. I've just been very careful to eject everything right before I turn it off. So.
Right. Yeah, somebody else said that they just got their MacBook Pro 15-inch 256 gig and it freezed and restarted. They were using Premiere and all of a sudden the laptop went dark and the sound was hicked up. Do you think Apple will replace a laptop? Are we sure it's a software-related issue? Which I think I told them that I'm pretty sure that this is software-related, and I had that problem, and now I don't have that anymore. Did you guys ever have that? You're like doing stuff on it, and all of a sudden it freezes, and it's like when an old Nintendo would get stuck.
Right, it would have that like sample.
Exactly.
Yes. I've actually had that happen once, and it was no fun. So I totally understand.
Well, and especially if she was if they were using the Premiere product, the Adobe product there. At the early stage, I did have some problems with the Adobe products, but after this latest update, I've had no problems. Although I'm still waiting for that wonderful integration.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever Apple, now I've had the last three laptops or so, other than the 2015. But whenever they launch a new laptop, all the Adobe suite always has issues right away. But it seems like the new Sierra updates have helped out a lot.
Yeah, and I would really say that basically at this point in my stage with this computer, its main issues are I'm probably going to have some kind of freeze up or something once a week, just kind of random, and then everything else centers around plugging and unplugging monitors for me. That's the big nightmare. I have the two LG monitors that are supposed to be designed to work with this. And if you plug them both in, only one of them will ever be recognized. You literally have to restart the computer for it to actually recognize both of them, and I have not found a workaround yet. So
are these the 5Ks that
these are the 5Ks?
These are the LG.
These are the big dogs, and they look really awesome. But I'm telling you,
they don't look awesome when they're not.
Literally every time I leave here and go to the man cave, I have to restart my. I've never restarted my computer this much in my life. I have to restart it every time I sit down there and plug in to have both monitors. If I don't, I just have one.
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten the LGs we have here to link. I guess you guys got them to link one time.
We were able to link.
The ones in my office don't link. So
a little bit of trouble.
Come over and fix it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we'll have to come help you there. But yeah, it was really weird. It would pair with only one set because we all have the same monitor here at the office, and it was if we plugged in mine and Ryan's monitor together, it would not work. But if we plugged Joshua and Ryan's, it would work just fine.
Yeah.
So
it's very funny how you would think that it would just work, but it doesn't.
Right. Yeah. So let's go to this thing now. Dalton, you have told us that you have something amazing that has to do with brushing your teeth, and it's not an ultrasonic care toothbrush that they're trying to sell us at Costco. Tell us about this.
It's called the Grush. It's a gaming toothbrush. And I actually was just looking at it before this, and it costs like $60. So it's like the cost of for a toothbrush, I could buy like 30 toothbrushes. For the cost, but it costs
that's pretty steep.
Yeah, as much as like a new title for like a game on most consoles, and it's just like an electric toothbrush that's hooked up. You hook it up through an app in your phone, and then you play a game. Like it'll have like I don't know all sorts of things, but you can like scrub off monsters off your teeth or whatever. And I've seen some videos of kids using them, and they just are like staring blankly into the screen while brushing their teeth, like not
right.
It's just like
it's a new day.
Yeah, and it requires your phone, right, or a tablet.
Yeah. You have to have a phone or a tablet.
And I'm going to assume this is not for adults. This is a kids thing, or
well, actually, okay. So I think it's marketed towards kids, but when I was watching the video on this, they actually have an adult game for it, but so instead of
That sounds concerning.
oh yeah,
Wow.
no.
XXX.
I think it's G-rated. It's like I think coins fall out of your teeth or whatever. Like they have some like
I don't know.
simulator or something that for parents, I guess. But I think the toothbrush does work without the phone, but you can't play any games with it.
I would
So
hope
it's
that the toothbrush would work without
I
the
mean,
phone.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like
Why-
$60.
What happens if I'm in the middle of the
It
woods
better-
with this thing?
it
Is it
better-
going to clean my teeth or
It's
not?
a new excuse as to why you didn't brush your teeth. The app didn't
yeah.
open, or the
Exactly. It better be automated too. Like if I'm paying $60 for a toothbrush, it should just brush my teeth for me.
right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to play a game.
Yeah, one cool thing that I saw on their Facebook page for this product was that it actually tracks how they brush their teeth with the app. And so you can show it to your dentist, or you can, the parents can check
interesting.
into it.
Oh,
And they
okay.
can say, hey, you're literally not, doing this, and this is why cavities and other things occur. So that's kind of cool.
Now, if you could combine this to where basically if you didn't brush, it like cut off the kid's internet or something.
Yeah.
Until they brush,
Hey,
that
can-
would be.
I think there's like a calendar app too, like part of the thing, so they can tell like, oh, they brushed their teeth this time and this time, instead of like
Interesting.
the old trick where you like run the toothbrush under the water, and you're
Yes.
just like,
Right.
Mom, I swear, and she's like, I can see you didn't brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Ruining brushing for kids since 2016.
That's funny. Well, speaking of things that are for kids that are kind of for adults that may not be, I don't know. Let's talk about the Nintendo Switch.
We're going there.
We're going there.
We're going to
We're
the
just a
Switch.
couple of weeks out from the Nintendo Switch launching. I think a lot of our listeners maybe grew up playing Nintendo. It's been around forever. And first off, I want to know, what is your excitement level in a world where we have the PlayStation and we have the Xbox? As someone who's, not a tweenager or whatever,
Wow.
what is
Yeah.
your excitement level for something like the Nintendo Switch? And is it still relevant for adults who maybe are kind of nerdy and gamey and like that, or are you not interested?
Yeah, I think to start, like the collector will definitely be into it just because they collect stuff. After thinking about it over this past week with the launch coming up, I thought a lot about Apple.
Yeah.
And you see how they came out with the iPhone that was completely revolutionary at the time, totally different. Everyone bagged on them, and now it's the biggest selling phone in the world. The Nintendo Switch may be the next, newer generation console.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
It may not, but
He
I'm
is
looking
the
forward to
fanboy
it.
of all things.
I'm looking forward to it. That's all I can say.
Dalton, what do you think?
I'm not excited for it, but I'm not excited for it. Like, I'm not bummed out that it exists, but
Right.
I'm not a huge Nintendo person. I mean, I played like the 64, but I wasn't really big on the Wii. I liked more like shooter games, and I tried to play like some Call of Duty game on the Wii, and I was just spinning in circles for like 20 minutes. But the Switch, I think actually does look pretty cool. I've seen a little bit of the new Zelda game, which I think is going to be huge for selling the console.
Yeah, we were talking about how the titles are going to sell the console,
Yeah.
not the console itself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there was somewhere I was reading or heard that it was like the second cheapest console release ever, adjusted for
Interesting.
inflation.
Really.
Yeah,
Interesting,
so
yeah.
that's pretty cool. So it's actually pretty cost efficient.
Well, cost efficient at that wonderful form factor of being able to be out of the house.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
Before this, consoles are just you're at the TV.
Yeah.
And so you're really restricted there. So I'm going to be interested to see how this plays out as far as, at least in the younger markets, to see what happens with the kids taking their Switch to school, losing their stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
could this be the next iPod Touch, essentially?
Right. Well, and here's the next question. So, I have mid-level excitement because I think, it's fun. I think everybody likes playing Mario, but I do get bored very quickly. It's like I relive childhood, and then I'm like, okay, I want to go back to my Xbox and, shoot around or
Yeah.
blow something up. But how would you feel if Microsoft had come out with a strategy, or Sony, and said, hey, we're going to make a PlayStation, we're going to make an Xbox, where basically you can play it on your TV or just grab and go, and you're literally playing Fallout 4 on a little handheld device? What would you think of that? Would that be something that you would get stoked for?
Well, I actually, when I was younger, I got really excited for the PSP, which is sort of that same concept. And the reason I was so excited for it wasn't just because I could play games. Like on my Game Boy, I could play Pokemon for like hours. But on the PSP, it was like I could play movies and like music, and I even had internet access when I was on Wi-Fi and stuff. So it's like that was actually really exciting. Even though like if I tried to play one now, it would be miserable like compared to anything. I think if Microsoft came out with it, I would really like it because you could probably hook it to your computer. Considering you can hook the Xbox controller and all that stuff like up to your computer and then play a lot of those games. So I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I think that if a bigger company like Microsoft came out with it, not saying Nintendo's small by any means, but I think it would be more lucrative for
that
people
little
to
company.
Yes,
Nintendo.
that little company, Nintendo.
They just have so many niche titles. Is the problem.
Yeah, I think that if like Microsoft came out with it, I think it would be more lucrative to people to just go, nowadays it's like, let's just go pick up a PlayStation. And, I think that it would be more like that. But again, I think that it would come down to, is it really viable to have something that can split into both types of systems?
Right.
Can it play Blu-rays? Does anybody know? Because
I guess
it's
we'll
like,
have to
I think
find out.
it's discless.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like that's not as appealing for like if you're a husband trying to convince your wife, you're like, yeah, it's a Blu-ray player, but I can
that excuse may be getting a little dated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
very
true,
much so,
that's
especially
true.
with the Netflix and whatnot. But I mean, I think you had that
That is a good-
integration. I think you had the two different kinds. You have where you're taking your titles over multiple devices, like what Microsoft's doing with being able to integrate your Xbox with your Windows 10 environment.
Yeah.
They're just taking it to the physical level.
Right.
So again, going to be interesting where this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see as we do get into more mobile gaming where VR goes and virtual reality. So right now, I have the HTC Vive, which we've spent some time playing on.
Oh, yes.
And it's a lot of fun, but I would say the big limiting factor is being tethered by a very thick cable to a very big computer.
Yeah.
And some people are working on, mobile backpacks, but that's still not... now have any of you guys messed with Google Cardboard or anything like that?
Yeah. I actually did the not the Google Cardboard, but their Google Daydream, which works with their
that's
personal
that's the
devices.
next level cardboard.
Oh,
essentially.
it was great. I mean, because with the Vive, you have those controllers that are basically sending a signal to a receiver, and then it's calculating your position in 3D space. The Daydream, it just had a little controller, and it just worked.
Yeah,
So-
and it integrates with your phone, correct?
Yeah. It integrates, and it was great. I was able to have the screen right there, and it was cordless.
Right.
I think the limiting factor was the graphics,
Yeah.
but it has a lot of potential, and I think that's where VR is going.
Right. Did you feel like it understood where your hand was, the same quality of the Vive?
No, because the Vive would.
I mean, you could conduct
keep,
surgery with the Vive.
pretty much.
yeah.
Well,
Okay,
the point. Yeah, you can go over under the knife.
That'd
there.
be a good YouTube series.
That would be. Yes, we're going to now
Yes.
do real virtual surgeries.
PhD
Do it
version.
over here, and there's a robot with a knife over there.
Yeah, the Vive would keep your position very, very consistently, and
Right.
I could say maybe for like an hour at least you'd be very calibrated. While with the Daydream, it would go out of calibration in probably 10 minutes. But again, it's a little button. You go ahead and reset it, and
Right.
the fact that it doesn't have any receivers, it just has the phone over Bluetooth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty epic.
What has your experience been, Dalton?
Well, the only thing I've used wasn't technically Google Cardboard. It was like a knockoff, I guess, that a friend had, and it was more like a viewfinder type thing. Those little picture things you go through when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But it was way cool because like I didn't play any games with it. I have used some VR, and when it gets out of sync, it makes me motion sick because it's like I'm not where I am. But no, with the little cardboard thing, it like split my phone, like how it does,
Right.
and then so you get it out of both eyes, and I don't know what it is about doing that makes it look so much better than with just like looking at my phone. But like videos and stuff and like even pictures looked pretty cool on that.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine like 360 videos or something.
Yeah,
like
I was
that.
just gonna say 360 videos with the Intel 360 and everything coming up, and them using that in the Super Bowl. I mean, how cool would it to be watching the Super Bowl
Exactly.
On the field.
Right.
on the field in VR at that point.
Yeah. Now, Dalton, did you view it like on a swivel chair, or were you standing up?
Well, I was just standing when I used it. But I'm sure you could use it. Like I think the swivel chair thing is like genius because I've watched 360 videos where I'm like that I didn't know was a 360 video at first. And I was like laying in bed, and I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, how is this a video?
Yeah.
And that is so annoying to me. Like, I can't imagine. Like, they need to optimize like the calibration of like your position. But the swivel chair is genius because you could just like you were saying, you could be at the snap in the Super Bowl, and then just spin in a circle.
Spin around.
There you go.
And guess
Pause
what?
time.
We're going to charge you $80 pay-per-view for that and pay for all the
Oh,
technology.
you know how many people would do that though?
Yeah.
I want the bubble room though. That's what I want. Like, I don't want goggles. I want like a room that I go in that's
That is
just
a full projection.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. I have been
future.
surprised at how even, I think the graphics have to get to a certain point. I can't remember the name of the game, but it's like where you're in this old mining thing shooting. And I played that, and, this is going to make me sound like a weenie, but I was in the man cave. My wife was at work. It was at night. I was alone. I'm like going through with these guns, and I literally thought that I was hearing things. I would have to take the headphones off and like make sure someone wasn't like standing behind me, ready to.
This is not an
hit
advertisement
me.
for Bose. Just put
Yeah,
that
true.
out
I did
there.
have the Bose headphones on, but
and for listeners, this is a huge difference between your Apple headphones and noise canceling Bose headphones. So you definitely you're in the zone.
when you remove that sound, it does make a difference. But I mean, what's interesting is it didn't have to be even as realistic as a lot of the games we play on Xbox or PlayStation for me to buy in with my body and like feel like I'm really threatened here.
It's like when you go to an arcade, you're playing games that don't necessarily look as good, but because you have that plastic gun, you're just like, oh, I'm in it.
Yeah, I'm the man.
Yeah, and I think like you were saying, the audio really does it, because like I've played scary games before without audio or like just normal like stereo audio, and it's not the same. As soon as you put on headphones and you're like in it, even though the graphics aren't great, it's like, okay, yeah, this is scary.
No, this is dorky, but who here has played Slender Man?
I have played.
Yeah.
Joshua,
for
have you
like
had the
two,
pleasure?
I think for like 2 seconds, and then I was like, "What is this?"
Because you were telling me and Ryan that Slender Man, this is nothing. But I mean, you put on the headphones, you turn up the volume, you turn off the lights, and that stuff's scary.
Dom and I have done this.
Could
test
you imagine
at night.
in VR?
That's next level.
Like on a
Slender Man
treadmill
VR.
or something, you're just like,
I'm pretty certain someone's already poured that game to like the Vive or something. They had to.
Kickstarter.com.
I would have a heart attack.
Yeah.
That'd be so scary.
One interesting thing with all of the, like with the Vive, because the Vive is definitely, would you agree, it's the biggest VR set now?
Yeah, I've tried the Rift and the Vive, and I sold the Rift because, the reason I had the Rift is because I had pre-ordered it, and then I forgot to cancel it, and then they shipped it to me. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and give it a try. And from as far as how it feels, it is like well put together. I mean, it's way better put together than the Vive, but in terms of the actual usability, the Vive, way better. The Vive feels like it's still a prototype, but way better, in my opinion, at this point. But now that you're getting the touch for the Rift, and if they, you get larger room scale, it'll be there.
Yeah, one interesting thing that people bring up a little bit, just because they can't, do it, is the computer graphics and the computer nest that you need. And right now you have to build a big Windows rig to make. You can't just
you're not going to do it on your laptop.
Even the new 2016 MacBook Pro is nowhere near. I think the big thing with the VR market that people aren't really thinking about right now is not the buy-in, but the can I even do this?
Right.
Yeah, it's not do I have, $20,000 to buy the car. It's can the car even get me to work? Can I even make it happen?
Right. Well, and you guys have even seen from a technical standpoint, maybe other people have had it easier, but it is always a disaster every time we try to use that.
Yeah, it's not like you just turn it on and it works like a PlayStation.
Right.
You really do have to know what you're doing for the most part.
Yeah, one small NVIDIA update could literally kill your whole night of fun.
Yes, and now you need to know how to deal with that.
Which again that's the plug into getting into those console realms, or even the mobile realm, because with the VR being popular on those platforms, I mean that makes VR accessible, because VR, let's be honest, right now it's not accessible to the general public.
Yeah, introducing the Nintendo Switch with VR functionality on Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go, that's what it needs.
Oh no!
As soon as you can get VR where you can actually see the room around you too, like it'd be more like glasses with
like HoloLens,
with like a HUD.
Augmented reality rather than virtual reality.
I think that's like where I would invest in VR, because like right now I would just get sick playing for like an hour. But yeah, as soon as it gets into that.
Like, Google Glasses, that was going to be big, and then it went away. But I really think that when you have the combination of Google Glasses, and I can just see everyone normal, or I can do augmented reality, and I could overlay, like say I'm in a meeting, I can't remember your names, but I can see it above your head. I
Yeah.
can see things
Yep.
as I'm talking to you and tell you things that scare you and sound like a creeper. I think that would be awesome. But then imagine the ability, no one needs to, it's in the meeting, all of a sudden now I can zone out and I'm playing a video game. I'm over here playing Halo.
Yeah, it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing.
I think the thing with Google Glass is you had to talk to it, which is like kind of
Yeah,
iffy.
yeah. And they
You're
had,
just, like,
I think they had
on
like
a
one
date.
button on the side or
Right.
something to
Well,
start.
yeah.
And there were
taking a
so many
photo.
privacy concerns, which is funny because you
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
seen that with the spectacles by Snapchat. I think because they look like, okay, something's wrong with me. I'm probably recording video of you. As where the glasses looked a little more like I'm a creeper. I may be.
Yeah, when it looks like the NSA designed it, you know something's wrong.
Yeah. But it'll be very interesting to see where that goes and what happens. And I think a lot of people are gonna invest in a lot of hardware and spend money that want to do it, but it's not at the consumer
Yeah.
fun level. PlayStation is trying with their VR, which I haven't heard a whole lot of things about.
That's where I actually first used VR was on the PlayStation.
Yeah, and what was your experience on there?
I played like it sounded like the game you were talking about. I was like on a like a what do you call it? Like a roller coaster type
Yeah.
thing, and it's like a shooting arcade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
the same
minecart,
one.
Yeah. And it was like that. I mean, I like both of the people that used it also got sick. Like not sick, but like like you kind of maybe it comes with playing it more. But it's like when you're when you have the goggles on and you're just like going through, it's kind of cool, but at the same time it's like, okay, this is weird because I'm not actually moving, so it kind
Right.
of messes with your mind. So I think after you get used to it, it's probably pretty good. But my experience was I would say it's pretty decent, similar to like an arcade. It was like
Yeah.
a fun thing to do for like a little bit, and then it was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, it's not a long buy-in.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we end this podcast, we do want to see Mr. McFeely. He has come in and handed me an envelope with a question from Eric from the YouTube channel. And Eric says this, question for you. And I've been watching Eric's YouTube channel. We'll put a link down in the description. But he says, question for you. I am buying a used 2014 or 2015 MacBook, and I was wondering if they are customizable and what your recommendations would be when buying a used Mac. He's primarily focusing on YouTube and photo editing, very deeply ingrained in the Apple ecosystem already, watches iPhone, Apple TV, and iPads. He's already spent millions in the iTunes store, and that's why he wants a MacBook. So if you were trying to buy, a couple year older MacBook, what would you be looking for? Because from a standpoint of actually, can you physically upgrade it? There's really not much you can do once you have it.
Yeah, a lot of it's soldered to the motherboard now. What I would really look for is just making sure you have whatever you're going to need for storage-wise, just because it's very hard, if not impossible, to upgrade later. And then if you're buying a 13-inch, he didn't specify if he's doing 13 or 15, but say you're buying a 13-inch and has the option to have an 8 gigs of RAM, maybe you want to look into buying something used with 16. It's going to last you a little bit longer now that we're in 2017.
Right. Any thoughts? Anyone else?
No, that really covers it right there. It's just, get the storage that you need.
Yeah,
because that stuff's just
Yeah,
hard
and
to
one thing
upgrade.
that people don't really think about when buying used on eBay, especially, I have friends all the time that talk to me about it, or Craigslist, is buying with or without AppleCare and understanding the difference and what it covers. If you can get something with more warranty on it that
Right.
will extend a little bit farther, like say a 2015 with AppleCare is going to go till 2018.
Right.
That's going to cover all your issues if there are any.
Right. Yeah, I always tell people go for storage, and then after that, things like RAM. If you're really doing a lot of video and photo stuff, then you can look at processor upgrades, but they're really never going to give you that much of your bang for your buck. So that's only kind of if you're wanting to, you just want to drop money on it. And then, the other thing is I think a lot of times we think, well, you can do external. And if you are going to do a lot of video, I suggest if you can get an external SSD because it's way faster than the regular. But one of the problems is you still need a decent amount of computer or of storage on your computer because even if you're using an external, that main hard drive, you're just going to need to put stuff on it.
Yeah, you have a lot of like cache space there. Yeah, when we started using SSDs here in the office externally for video editing and audio editing and things like that, it's sped up our production quite a bit.
Yeah, pretty drastic. So speaking of production, we're going to end this so that we can actually put this out. But thank you guys so much for watching Man Cave Technology Show. We're going to do this every week. It's going to be really exciting. One thing you could really do to help us out is go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel. go ahead and share the show with friends. And if you have questions or you have things, put those in the comments. Let us know how we did. The studio is a work in process or
Yes.
progress, so we're still working on it. We're going to get the cameras better, but we were so anxious to just go ahead and get it recorded, even though it's like last minute. We're setting. I think the floor wasn't even installed last night.
We did that this morning.
Oh, there you go.
Yes,
Okay,
there we go.
so we're making it happen. But thank you for watching, and we will be back with more in the future.